welcome to another episode of A Salt and Buttery with Intent to Satisfy. Today we are making mashed potatoes. I know that seems like a really basic thing, but there are a couple things that you can do to make it better, okay? So first we're starting off with the basics. We have some potatoes that have been roughly peeled. Part of the reason for at least roughly peeling them is to check for bad spots so you can cut them out so you don't end up with that nasty dirt taste that you can sometimes get in your potatoes. And then we've rinsed them off, put water in the pan to cover and a little bit above covering, okay, and some salt. The salt actually helps the water boil at a slightly lower temperature, and it adds just a little tiny bit of flavor to the potatoes too, okay? So once again, this is where we're starting. Now we put them on the stove, turn on the heat, and once this comes to a boil, we let them cook. We lower the heat just a little bit, and then we let them cook for 20 minutes. That's all you need. There are certain times when you're not going to want to cook the potatoes as long, but for mashed potatoes, we want them mashable, okay, which means totally cooked. So that's 20 minutes at boiling. Okay, so we'll come back in a little bit. I'll show you what's going on, and we can get on with this. Thanks. Okay. This is what the water boiling with potatoes looks like. Yeah, it gets that little bit of foam on top. Any loose bits of skin are going to come off. That's not a problem. Okay, so at this point, we're going to let it boil for 20 minutes. Remember I said that. And then we're going to proceed with the mashing and the seasoning and the flavoring and all that fun stuff. So, okay, now the potatoes are cooked. Okay. See, they're nice and steamy, and if you take a fork, it's easy to make it go through, okay? There's like practically, we have not boiled them to the point where they're falling apart, but we can easily poke all the way through with a fork. Yes, that is perfect. Now we're going to use one of the few specialty tools that I kind of recommend. Potato masher. Now, you can use a hand mixer if you happen to have one. You can use a fork. Okay, that's more work, but you can go ahead and use this. Now, I have drained and rinsed the potatoes, as you saw. Put them back into the pot where it's still nice and hot because we want to keep these hot. Okay, now mash, 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 mash. And you can leave it chunky if you like. You can mash it as smooth as you can possibly get it if you like. It all depends on what you want. Okay? If you prefer just to take the whole potato and just like smash it down, hey, that works too. Okay? That's called smashed potatoes. So, here we have. And using a hand masher like this, you can get these pretty well, almost totally lump-free. Okay, it just means you have to be a little bit dedicated to your work on it. Now, after it is all mashed, as you can see, this still looks lumpy. Okay, that's because it's dry. So now we're going to add some stuff to it. Now I'm going to change my recipe up a little bit. I'm actually going to add just a little bit of yogurt. You can add yogurt, you can add sour cream, you can skip this part if you want. Okay, you can add butter. I don't usually add butter because most people, if they want butter, they're going to add their own. Now, as you can see, it's starting to look a little bit more like mashed potatoes, a little bit more creamy. Okay. Now, here's the trick that I do. Instead of adding milk, which I've found makes for a very bland mashed potato, so that it's basically just a carrier for gravy. I actually use some chicken broth that I've already dissolved into water. Pour some in and mix until I get it to the consistency that I want it. Okay? And yes, I am a very sloppy cook. I am apologizing now, okay? Yes, I spend more time cleaning my kitchen than I would like, but you know what? The food's good. So, in here, we have some very creamy mashed potatoes, and with the chicken broth, there is a little bit of flavor added. Now, I'm going to add some salt to taste. You can add more, you can add less, you can add none, and let people salt it on their own, just like the butter. Okay, now we have some wonderful creamy mashed potatoes here with little bits of skin to add some difference, and ta-da, we're done. We now have some mashed potatoes ready to go with whatever you want, or just plain on their own. Okay, and as I said, I like to use a little bit of chicken broth. You can skip the chicken broth and just use water. You can use milk. If you're going to use water, I'd recommend saving some of the water that you cooked the potatoes in. Okay, but hey, we have mashed potatoes. Make it to your taste. Have some fun with this. And there are a lot of things you can do with mashed potatoes too. So have some fun with this. Once again, this was A Salt and Buttery, and we just made mashed potatoes. Thank you.